What would you do if you found out you only had 6 more months of life left? Or better yet, what would you not do? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your location. I was thinking and had a question come to mind today, and that is, what would a person do if they walked in and found out they only had 6 months left to live? Or better yet, what would a person not do? The reason this comes to mind is because I see a lot of people keep waiting instead of retiring at, say, 62 when they can, waiting to get that extra $200 or $300 on their Social Security, or they have some set goal of, let's say, I don't know, $1 million in the bank or whatever it may be. But the thing is, or the question that pops into my mind is, how often do we get caught in this trap of just going to work every day, coming home, being exhausted, going to bed, and just repeat? We constantly just repeat these actions day in and day out, and we don't really think of the consequences of what we're doing. For example, I've spent a lot of my life working multiple jobs, building up money, buying property, doing different things. And no, I've never became what I would consider wealthy by any means of the matter, but I've worked hard constantly chasing after that type of goal. And now then, as I have got older, I look at that and I look back and I see that I firmly believe that this is a big mistake that a lot of people make. And I say this because when I made my trip over to Thailand, and I've said in numerous videos what an eye-opening experience it was for me. It wasn't just about the money or the cost. It was about doing something so completely different and out of the ordinary that I would have never thought of or dreamt of doing before. And I actually have to thank my ex-wife for this, because once we split up, it opened the door for me to go do something that I'd never done before, and I never even really dreamed of doing. Once I had done that, it was just a real eye-opener for me, you guys. And I was thinking about my father, too, and some of the things he had told me. He died whenever he was 51 years old. And he had worked extremely hard. He worked 6 days a week. He was a director at a warehouse. The man had a work ethic that was unbelievable. But again, he died at 51. All he did was work. And I remember whenever he was diagnosed with cancer, they told him he would be lucky to have 5 or 6 months left. And I can remember seeing how, in my mind, how unfair I thought that was. He had just taken up playing golf about, I don't know, 6 or 8 months earlier. The man had never had a hobby. All he had done was work. And some of his buddies had talked him into going and trying golf with them. So he went, and he just absolutely fell in love with the game. He, got his clubs. He'd go every weekend. He'd do, he'd take that day off work finally and go with his friends for 3 or 4 hours once a week and play golf. And I could see that it was something that it changed his life. It made a drastic change in him. The simple thing of going and playing a game of golf with a couple of guys from work. So when I think about people that just constantly get in this work loop, and they work and they go home and they work and they go home, and they keep thinking on that someday that pie in the sky is, that so much money, or at a certain age, it doesn't make sense to me. So my question is, that I want you guys to think about is, if you walked in to your doctor, and theoretically, this is just theoretically in your mind, if you walked in and the doctor looked at you and said you had 6 months left to live, if they told you that, what would you do? I mean, think that over. It's a sombering thought. If they said that, would you care if you had that $2 or $3 or $400,000 home? Would you care if you were driving that $100,000 sports car? Would you care about owning a lot of property? Would you care about the job that you had and going in and working that 10 or 12-hour shift during the day? Excuse me. I don't think you would. I think if you really thought about it, it wouldn't be your goal. If you were told you had 6 months to try to put in those more hours for that promotion and to get that extra, $10,000 next year or whatever it may be. So now then, on the flip side of the coin, let's think about what would be the things that you would not do. Now, for me personally, I would definitely not wait on retirement. I would not think that I couldn't travel overseas or go travel or do something that I really wanted to do. I wouldn't put it off any longer, that's for sure. I would, if I wanted to go on a motorcycle trip with somebody and I was still physically capable, you can bet your backside that's what I'd be going to do. If I wanted to fly back overseas and spend the last 6 months of my life overseas, that's exactly what I do. So I think you guys are kind of getting the gist now of what I'm talking about. If you were in that position, think about it. What would be the things that would truly matter? Do you think that your boss at that job, they're going to come up and give you, oh, they feel so bad for you and they're so sorry and, pat you on the back. But do you think they're going to give a shit whenever you're gone? If you tell your boss that, the first thing they're going to be doing is trying to think of, where am I going to get a replacement? Now, guys, that's just a fact. Whether you want to believe that or not, they're going to be thinking about themselves, and they're going to go, and so is the company. Okay, we're going to lose Bob over here, who's our senior programmer or our head accountant. What are we going to do? So they will immediately be searching for your replacement. If you've got family, I'm sure your family loves you and your family's going to care. But, in reality, when you die, what's going to happen to all your items? It's a lot of times I see families that you think are really tight just fight over things. I had seen people in my own family, whenever my grandmother passed away, I had an aunt that before she passed had talked her into willing her almost everything, or signing her over as being, in charge, the executor, I guess I should say. But not only the executor, but she actually owned everything. And so it was heartbreaking to my mother, because my mother couldn't believe her sister would act this way over greed, but she did. And it surprised all of us. It surprised me also. So, think a little bit about, the ramifications of if this were to happen to you. And if you think from that perspective and, thank God that you've got your life, and if you're healthy right now, it might give you a fresh look at something that, a new way, let's say, of thinking about, hey, this is really what is important to me in life, and this is what is not important, and this is what I will do from here on out, and these are things that I will deem unacceptable to me that I won't deal with. Leave me some comments. Let me know if you guys have ever, thought about this, and let me know your thoughts on the topic. I'm really curious. I know how I feel about it, and I feel strongly that I'm not going to be influenced any longer by money or what people say or what people think. My influence is going to be what is going to give me the best quality of life and make me the happiest in the lifetime that I have left. So you guys, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. I'd be really, really interested. This is Rick. With the Excite channel. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for me. I really appreciate it. The channel is growing, and you guys that are subscribers, thank you so much, and your comments have been very positive, and I really appreciate it a lot. So once again, Rick with the Excite channel, signing off. I'll see you guys very soon.